From a closet, also known as the Jim McCarthy Voiceovers World Headquarters Studio, this is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. This is episode 10 of the JMVO Weekly Primer, and I've got a great guest on. This guy just happened to hit me up out of the blue one day, and for some reason he found something interesting about me over on Instagram. And we started working together, and I said, you know what, I'll give your service a try. And lo and behold, a month in, it's been nothing short of spectacular and amazing. My audience has grown quite a bit. It's all pretty genuine followers as well. And Jeremy Bishop, I want to welcome you to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you for having me.
Not a problem, brother. It's very interesting what you guys do. You are the vice president, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Of iComeUpMarketing.com, along with Cody, who founded the business.
Correct.
Not very long ago.
Nope, just about 3 years, April 1st. It was 3
right
years.
On. Yeah, very cool. And basically, you guys are in the business of finding people who have influencer potential. Somehow you found that in me. I have no idea how. But hey, I've always been kind of a behind the scenes guy when it comes to radio and doing interviews and things of that nature. I've never really been an on-air guy. I never found much interest in it, probably because when I was on the air, I had to read liner cards and introduce classic rock bands, which was never much fun for me. It was always more fun for me to be behind the scenes, doing voiceover, production, imaging production, things of that nature. So, for me to kind of get in front of the camera like this is a little bit outside my comfort zone, though I've been told that I do a halfway decent job. So I guess I've always been somewhat of a ham. And it's kind of funny because Jeremy's really been integral and instrumental in coaching me on my Instagram dalliances, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of stuff I've never really even thought of, like, what to post on your wall and, things to do on your stories and things of that nature. I have a very interesting story that just went up. It's me getting massaged by my wife.
Okay. Interesting. I'll have
Nothing like that. I woke up yesterday morning. I could not move my head.
Your neck, right?
Oh my gosh, dude. It was like, are you looking at it now?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Dude, I could not move I felt like someone had installed an I-beam in place of my neck yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's her digging in and just going to town on my neck and shoulder. So
well, hopefully that feels a little bit better now that.
Oh my! I could turn my head.
Yeah,
I could totally turn my head. It's a little bit sore, but that's okay. Plus, I've been getting over a cough, which is wonderful. So tell me the history.
Yeah.
With Instagram, I titled this, and of course, we're going live on Facebook. And the title of it is, I don't get Instagram. And I said, well, it's about time you did. What is going on with that? It's really kind of starting to take over a lot of different things, especially if you want to scale a personal brand or become an influencer.
Well, first off, you've got a lot of different platforms that have come out over the past 10, 15 years, right? And as those platforms have developed, it's shown us a multitude of ways to reach and connect with people, right? This is just the basics of social media. And I think that what makes social media great is when you have a quality purpose for using it. As simple as that. And we saw social media go from, Facebook's beginning stages where all it was meant to do was to connect some friends at college, to connect some friends to one another that might be at the same school. Now that's scaled up to God only knows. I think there are more Facebook users than Christians, right? And so you think about what it has become, and a lot of it, there's a lot of crap on social media. And so a big purpose of mine from day one of using social media was, hey, let me at least, I just feel like it's a duty of mine to at least put out some positive content and to be there for a good reason, right? And whether that just means connecting with somebody else, making a new friend, you might meet your next partner in business or in life, or you might make some money, right? You might build a brand. You might decide, hey, there's something I can monetize. There's something I can build. And, I think when I look back to really getting involved in social media and starting to build my brand, right? You're saying, I see the influencer in you. I think that everybody is a influencer. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have, millions and millions of followers to make an impact, right? Mm-hmm. That could be on a small scale and still make a huge impact, right? When I started into business for myself as an entrepreneur, I got into network marketing at 19 years old. And I started to build a team of product consumers and leaders all over the U.S. And I built a team of a few thousand distributors in my very first business at 19, 20 years old. And I produced a company about $4 million in 2 years, 2.5 years, or something like that, right? And the one thing that I don't regret, but the one thing looking back that I did, but I wish I did it more, was build my brand around Jeremy and not just my company. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned. Was when I look back, I wish that I just built more on Jeremy, because guess what? When that company had some issues, internal issues, and they shut down, and I was to move on to my next venture, what I had was Jeremy. Mm-hmm. What I had was this brand that I had built, the trust, the respect from traveling, from meeting people, from getting on the phone, and then allowing them to follow you on social media and keep up with you, right? So when I saw Cody starting I Come Up Marketing, I thought it was a brilliant idea, because I had already been in the process of putting out content just simply to provide quality content and put that out into the world. I like to help young people get into entrepreneurship. I like to motivate people. I want to help people figure out, hey, what are you great at, and how can you build a business and build a life around that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I saw Cody starting I Come Up Marketing, he was focused on helping people grow their brands, grow their following, and get their name out there. So it was just in perfect alignment as to what I already believed. So I partnered with Cody, and that was almost 2 years ago in July. And we've been having a blast since then, right? So I was able to take my brand from what was 1,000 followers on Instagram, and I had built that organically from making phone calls, traveling, meeting people, and as organic as possible. And then I took the page and started to really grow that, and started to really put some time and effort into my content, and that's made a world of a difference on the amount of people that I've been able to connect with, do business with, and build real relationships with.
Why Instagram over Facebook? And a lot of people, we're actually broadcasting on Facebook now, talking about Instagram. I come across a lot of people who don't understand Instagram. They don't think that they just don't understand it. They don't get it. And for many years, neither did I. Now I am seeing the potential of it. There's no limits to the amount of followers you can get. And you guys aren't just, hey, pay us and we'll get you a whole buttload of people to follow you, but you're actually intently looking for people who are interested in what we are, organic followers, if you will.
Yeah, of course. Well, the mission statement, first off, behind I Come Up was we started seeing so many business owners, entrepreneurs getting screwed over, for lack of better words, by fake followers, bots, algorithms, everything. We live in a world where everything's automated right now. And so you see somebody at the end of the day that has 10,000 followers. I don't care if it's on Facebook or on Instagram, and they only get 100 likes on their photo. They only get a fraction of the engagement. And you've got to wonder, okay, where is that disconnect? What is that actually doing for someone, right? Mm-hmm. So our mission statement is, hey, not only do we want to bring genuine people to the table for you, but we want to help you create a plan so that you can actually gain an ROI on social media. I don't just mean money. I mean new partnerships, new relationships, new connections. How can you actually gain something and give on social media? Now, the difference between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, right? Here's the thing. First off, you're never going to understand a platform if you don't use it or try to understand it, right? We all learned how to drive a car, Gary Vee talks about, like, you just got to figure it out, right? It's a resource, it's a tool, and you can't blame your age, for not being able to understand it. My grandfather's 89 years old with an iPhone. He sends me text messages every single day, and I know 50-year-olds that don't know how to handle a freaking cell phone. So there's no excuse, right? Ignorance is not an excuse, especially for these platforms that are, housing millions and millions and millions of people. Now, here's the thing. Depending on your brand, depending on your mission statement, may decide which platform you really want to hone in on. Mm-hmm. The reason that people get so overwhelmed is because they try and do it all, and they never really figure anything out. Or they don't search for somebody like me who can actually give guidance on maybe just one platform, right? So you download every app. You download Instagram, you download Facebook, and by the end of the day, you're so overwhelmed you hardly even made a profile, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're like, well, I have an Instagram, right? I talk to business owners all the time. Well, yeah, I mean, we have a page. We created a page. It has a photo on it. So my point is, whether you're choosing Facebook or Instagram, over the past 2 years, I really went deep into Instagram. But before that, I had been putting out a lot of content on Facebook. I was very active, and I saw a lot of engagement through Facebook, and I wasn't doing much on Instagram. So I'm the type of person where when I choose one thing, I want to go all in on it. And when I'm able to feel as though I'm getting a real grip on it, then I can start to branch out and make an impact somewhere else, right? So if you're a business owner out there or an entrepreneur and you're a personal trainer, you've got a product, you've got a service, and your goal this month is, I'm going to double my revenue. I made $1,500 last month selling my service, selling my coaching program. I'm going to make $3,000 this month. I would say you need to figure out which of these platforms are you going to double your income on this month. Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. It's also what I preach a lot too, because marketing has been my wheelhouse for the past 20 some odd years, within radio, television, of course, voiceover and things like that. But a lot of my, value comes from the creating campaigns and figuring out ways to be appealing to a consumer. Now, that was always on a medium where it could be forced down somebody's throat. Radio, television, the internet is completely different. The internet 2.0 that Vaynerchuk talks about with Facebook and Instagram and things of that nature that are layered on top of the internet. We hardly use browsers anymore. It's always Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, that kind of thing. The apps that are layered on top of it. And it's such a consumer driven and almost permission marketing scenario where you have to be putting stuff out there that is so much more about them than it is about you. And that's something I had to figure out, even with you forget that sometimes. And even when you had brought that up and reminding that when people go to your Instagram page, what is reflected on your Instagram page should kind of prop up what you are all about,
What's the point?
Yeah.
You want it to be clear, easy, and for people to quickly understand. Think about that. Millions of people on a platform. Mm-hmm. And if they can't quickly understand who you are and what you have going on, they could be on to the next.
Yeah. The attention span is very small. And some people say, because I make a lot of videos, and they'll say, well, the video has to be under 60 seconds. And I say, well, not necessarily. Not if what you're saying has a crap ton of value. Somebody will sit there and watch a 6 to 7 minute walk around of a new vehicle because they're a fan of that brand. Sure. And as long as you do a good job in describing the the features and the values and the benefits of the vehicle, they'll sit there and watch it. I mean, Facebook TV is starting to come out where they have long form programming. That's part of what, like, similar to Netflix and things of that nature. But that's the kind of stuff that, in my mind, I designate for treadmill time. I'll watch Mike Rowe's his new show, Pay It Forward. Is it Pay It Forward? Of course, I can't remember the show. It's all good stuff, you know. And that's what this podcast is all about, is marinating your mind in good stuff. So I constantly marinate my mind in good stuff. Other podcasts, Mike Rowe has got tremendous good stuff, but that's what he does. His new show is Returning the Favor. That's what it's called, Paying It Forward. But he goes out and does good stuff for other people who deserve it, that, you know, and it's a show about making a show. It's not exactly a show, but again, 22 minutes each episode. Vaynerchuk stuff, the Daily V, are all about, you know, 7 to sometimes 25 minutes of content, daily documentations of what he's doing. Now, on the other hand, you know, with Instagram, it is micro content here today, you know, little jabs here and there. The stories are very interesting. And I've always been one, I'm not just going to, I try not to put stuff up just for the sake of putting stuff up.
Right.
I cannot stand that. I mean, it drives me nuts when I see people's face. Okay, you know, they start associating, I'll dare to say, bullshit content with the person that's putting it up. Yeah, and that's a dangerous area too. Yeah, well, when you talk about the micro content and, you know, we're talking about using different platforms, you know, Gary says something that I love, which is you have to respect the platform, right? So which one are you on, right? So you have people who get on their Instagram story, which is a very important place to be seen right now, and you have people who are acting as if they're on YouTube on their Instagram story. Mm-hmm. And what I mean is they're spending so much time, so much face time on their Instagram story, where I'm not even going to hang out and watch, you know, 45 clips on your Instagram story. Yeah. Right. But if you just gave me a few and then sent me to the YouTube channel, that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go see the rest of it. I'm going to respect that platform, you know, especially when marketing myself. You know, if I have something that I want to tell somebody, if I have a new YouTube video, I'll create the video, which still, even on YouTube, is less than 2 minutes long to get my message across. Of course, that'll change as you scale up and as you want to, you know, as you have more content, more people to sit down with, right? But I'll take that 2-minute clip and I'll find just a few small 15-second clips, put that on my Instagram story, and allow people to check out the full video if they'd like. Right, right. And I've been preaching a lot as of late with, before I met you, the no less than 30 hashtag rule on Instagram. Yeah. And you kind of said, no, Jim, no, stop doing that. And I've been doing 5 to 7. All right, stick to that, dumbass. Well, and basically, and I've been doing that. I'm sure you've been looking at some of the stuff. I've been like, oh, what is he doing now? I think a lot of people are stuck in some of the myths of social media. You know, that these are like the basics. You know, you hear that if you open a pizza shop, you've got to put out, 20 pizza signs outside of your shop, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of maybe worrying about the fact that the shop on the outside looks like shit. Yeah. Right. So that's what I see, is that you have people who haven't taken any time to create content. They haven't taken much time at all to maybe create a message. The photo's blurry, right? Things like this. And then there's like 15 hashtags, 30 hashtags, because that's what's going to get them. That's what's really going to get them out there. That's so the equivalent of spam these days, right? Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Right. Yeah. Instagram. This is a summation of the things that drives Jeremy nuts, right? Here's the thing. Here are a few things that drive me nuts. Number one, this is what grinds my gears. You know what grinds my gears? Yeah. A blurry photo. Mm-hmm. A blurry photo. It does not take a rocket scientist to grab your iPhone or whatever camera and take the photo, hold it steady, and take a picture.
That is just plain and simple, right? So quality photos, nothing blurry. The second thing, if your Instagram page or your Facebook or your YouTube is your name, if it's labeled Jim or Jeremy, it should be primarily about you.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That's who I want to see.
I'm trying to see if I have any blurry photos on my post right now to see if I'm guilty. I took a picture of my wife and I golfing, but I couldn't get the background in, so it's all whited out. It's all blown out background, but it's the best I could do.
That's fine.
So but the funny thing is that, hey, we've agreed to do a thing together, and you're not afraid to tell me, dude,
Can't be.
You got to stop.
Can't be.
Yeah, you're your coach as well, and it's a lot of what your company does, and you've been very proactive about it. I really appreciate it. Now, the other things about Instagram are these things. I don't know if you can see that, but these little bubbles here where you can put little highlights. I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. Like, what should that look like? I've got Prod Ventures, Walk-in Impressions, and Sage Wisdom, because I actually have little wisdom nuggets from time to time that I put out there.
Yeah, I saw some other people doing some interesting things with those bubbles, and I started to follow. And what I did was I created one bubble which just says YouTube. Yeah. And I took a screenshot of a picture of the YouTube logo. Mm-hmm. And then when you have 10,000 followers, for anybody that's watching, once you have 10,000 followers, you can use the swipe up feature on Instagram. So in case you thought that you had to get verified to do that, that's not true. You just need 10,000 followers. And so I use that bubble so that when people can click the YouTube, they can swipe up to my YouTube link. And so that's what I'm using that bubble for. And eventually I'll just put the Facebook and I'll put other platforms there. So if they want to go, here's something that's really important. The percentage of people that are going to go from one platform to another about you is 0.1, 0.001, right? So I think that when I'm talking about really driving down into one platform, that's what I mean. Because if you have somebody on one, a lot of the times people are so worried about getting them from the one that they have them on to the next one, and then they lose them. It's like jumping ship. So
you got to figure out ways to drive them to those other platforms for different types of content.
Well, yes and no. What I'm saying is, do you need to drive every single person that comes to your Instagram page where you can show photos, you can make videos, you can be active every day, you can give action steps, you can acquire phone numbers through direct message, you can create a whole database. I'm looking at my database from just the past 2 weeks, and I've got 20 emails, phone numbers of everybody that I've met through my Instagram just in the past week and a half, 2 weeks, right? Why do I necessarily need to drive them over here to my Facebook? I see people promoting their Facebook Live on their Instagram. What are we doing? Where do you want me to hang out? You told me to meet you at the coffee shop, and now you want me to meet you at the pizza shop, and then you want me to head to your house after that. I only have so much time. So and here's the thing. If you're Gary Vee, I get it. Right? If you're a freaking superstar, if you're Grant Cardone, he's got a team of people putting up 5 videos a day. Yeah. So he doesn't even need to do that. He's just doing his thing, creating the content. He has a team of people working with him to do that, right?
I had an interesting conversation with a guy, I don't know, about 2 months ago, who wanted to do all the things that like Gary Vee is doing, but wanted one person to do it. And I said, you're looking for a unicorn, you're going to burn the guy out in 3 weeks. Yeah. I said, you want him to put up a video a day of all these fantastic conversations that you're having? He goes, yeah. I said, and let me guess, you want to pay him $50,000 a year? Yeah. I said, you're looking for a unicorn. Yeah. You got to get out of college or something like that. They just need a job, and plus, why are you going to overwhelm people with that much content? They don't know who you are yet. You don't have to put out 3 to 4 best-selling books, for God's sake.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing, and this let me calm down for a second. But this is really this is really like scaling.
Man. Whoa, calm down there, all right, pal.
this is scaling up, right?
Yeah.
And what do I know about scaling up, right? I've got a little bit of I've got a tiny bit of experience in scaling up businesses from scratch, right? I come up marketing from about $10,000 a month when I partnered with Cody. I had known him prior, but when I partnered with him, he was doing about $10,000 a month. 2016 July, and then last year 2017 we just cleared our first 1.2 million. Right. So we scaled this thing up. Now here's the cool part: we hardly spent any money on advertisement.
Yeah.
Because we built our brands.
Mm-hmm. You did the elbow grease.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. In a world where everybody wants to automate the funnel, they want to automate the system. They want to no one wants to talk to their clients.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk to their potential customers. They just want it now, because that's the world that we live in. And I think that, we went so blue collar, if that makes sense. We built we built our brands, and we got closer and closer and closer to the money. We got closer and closer to our customers to the point where we would make a post and maybe promote it with $50 to $500, and that would bring in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of potential leads, right? Yeah. Because we built the brand first. And so to anybody out there that listens to this, don't do it the other way around.
A lot of people are kind of trained. They want the path of least resistance. There's actually a guy back in the 90s, almost the late 80s. His name was Don Laprie, and he was one of the first get-rich-quick gurus who his whole thing was like, all you got to do is buy a tiny little classified ad and put it in the newspaper. I started from a tiny one-bedroom apartment, and now look, that guy. Yeah, and his thing was all about starting these little micro businesses and advertising them in the classified section of a newspaper. It's no different from what we're seeing now. I mean, it's human. We're creatures of habit, and typically when it's easy or somebody sees, all I got to do is build a click funnel. Yeah, and you're right. I don't want to talk to the clients. I just want to have everything automated. But I guess when you're on that mass scale, it kind of makes sense.
Of course.
This is where people are living these days. You have to be on it if you want to be a visible business. What I love are companies that I formerly worked for that are now trying to get on board with social media, and they are making it all about them. Hey, look at us. And it drives me nuts, but at the same time is very funny to watch them struggle. It's cute, almost.
Well, it's don't be an ass about it, but it's like you can learn something from that. Learn something from the people that are making mistakes. And how you'll know that is if you ever have a conversation with them and you ask them, how's it going? What have you experienced through social media? And, if they give you one amazing story about somebody that they met, phenomenal. If not, and they're still trying to figure out the special thing that really makes it work, then then you're lost. Yeah. Right. It's really simple. Like you were saying, someone comes on, they have, 500, 1,000 followers, and they're putting out all of this content, right? And I've got this story about the guy who's just suit and tie, putting out a video a day, putting the labels on his videos, motivation, all of that stuff, right? From day one. And he didn't stop. He put it out every single day. He crammed and just jammed his content down his followers' throats every single day. And this is what happened. We grew his following because we'll do that no matter what. We'll make that happen, right? So we grew his following from 1,000 to 9,000 in 5, 6, 7 months or something. His engagement went up to a few hundred views and a few hundred likes, and then it just peaked.
Wow.
And I would try and consult him. I would try and talk to him. Hey, listen, you want to scale up with your people, right? You think I was putting out anywhere near as much content as I am now when I didn't have an audience? No, I scaled up with my people. I want people to come, I want people to see that journey and understand that Every interaction is special. Every single person that likes your photos there's a user on the other side. There's a human being on the other end, right? And so people say to me, I don't care about likes. I don't care about followers. I don't care about this. And you're just lost. If you want to double your, and I'm talking to that's a good point, because you were saying, for somebody like Gary Vee, for somebody like Grant Cardone, right? That's a totally different story. It's just a totally different story. I'm talking to the guy or the girl, right, that has a small business, that has a great idea and is passionate about something and is maybe in the few $1,000s a month range in terms of production. I'm talking to those people about how to scale up and get to $5,000, $10,000 a month in revenue for themselves.
Right.
That is something that is totally possible. It is. I've seen it happen again and again and again. I've helped personal trainers scale their business up from just a few clients, help them build their brand. Here's the deal. They meet me halfway. Mm-hmm. They meet me halfway. They do the work. They get on the phone. They build a great culture within their business. And that's why they can get to $100,000 a year, through Instagram. Right. Mm-hmm. So there is no secret formula. It is 100% putting in time, putting in effort, building real relationships, right? My thing is, social is great, but I want to take those relationships offline so we can do things like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to just hang out on Instagram direct message or wait for you to like my next photo. That's not why I put out content. I put out content so that I could inspire, hopefully get in touch with you, grab your phone number within 3 messages. Mm-hmm. And then we're on to building a real relationship.
And that's exactly what you did when we connected. Your message to me stood out and got my attention, which is the toughest part, because, as I'm growing and as my Instagram channel is growing, which, by the way, it's at JimMcCarthyVOS.com, at JimMcCarthyVOS. Gosh, I'm feeling my age today. Between my neck and my mind. You had a way of what I call surprising broca, because now I'm noticing a lot of people will message me, but they're complete right hook messages and they're, hey, I can't wait to share information with you on how we can do this. And I'm like, dude, yeah. Dinner and drinks and dancing first, man. It's almost like becoming LinkedIn in a way. And that's not the way to go about it either. You just simply can't, I could tell your message was, organically written. It had something specific to me, and it's really not dissimilar to networking. It's just listening to the other person, finding out what's important to them, and addressing that. It's human relationships 101.
And can I? It's interesting you say that. I get a lot of phone calls when I get on the phone with that person. I get a lot of comments where they say, Jeremy, I get a lot of messages like this, but I decided to get on the phone with you. Yeah. 2 things. Number 1, they took a look at my page and they took a look at my brand. I'm talking to them about, I say I run a social media company. It better damn look like it when they check my page, right? They better be able to say, okay, well, who is Jeremy? Like I said, people need to understand clearly, easily, and quickly, within one message of me saying, hey, Jim, would love to connect. And Jim says, all right, well, who is Jeremy? Let me see. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, that's him. There he is. There he's doing business. There he's with some people. There he is networking. Oh, he's with Grant Cardone. Oh, okay. So this is somebody that maybe I will give a few minutes to. Boom. That's a big thing. It's not necessarily just the message.
But that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So many people, I look for, first and foremost, how many followers do they have? And what kind of content are they putting up? Is it all memes? Is it all stuff that looks like it came off from a Google search? That's one thing I told you, is that you look at all my memes that I make. They are personalized pictures generally, and thought nuggets that I've had. They're all custom little wisdom nuggets that I've had over time after 42 years of doing this. So, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You had mentioned getting verified before, and I know I've heard a lot of people, okay, how do I go about getting that blue check mark? And I've never really investigated it, but I know to a lot of people it's very important. Yeah. I've seen people with as little as 6,000 followers have the blue check mark.
Yeah, of course.
What's the deal behind that?
Yeah, I wish I had like a printed out, Instagram's verified,
Right.
right? I don't. I tend not to try and worry about that or focus on it too much. Basically, it comes down to who you are in the real world and the verification behind that. Meaning, we have pro athletes that were growing their followings from just a few thousand, very very small, and they have the check mark, right? So
Yeah.
like you said, it has nothing to do with how many followers you have. It has everything to do with basically your press. What email, who's sending the email, and who has some sort of verification that you are someone that no one else could make a fake account and try and replace your name. And so
Right.
that's another big thing is when someone is coming up in the world and the other Jim McCarthy comes up and you send them an email. Hey, this is who I am. I do real business with real people. It's very important to me that there are not other people trying to impersonate me. Verified. I believe that's another way that that's happened.
So it's important to try and get that check mark before that happens, if you can.
Well, no, not necessarily. I'm saying sometimes the check mark can come because of an incident.
Right.
Like someone could you imagine if somebody was making a Grant Cardone page trying to impersonate him and he said, listen, I need that check mark because people aren't going to know who's who here. They're going to freaking go with this whack job that just recreated my page,
Right.
So, but I don't claim to know too much about exactly how to get verified.
Right.
I will give a warning to anybody out there that is listening. Be very, very careful about who you trust when it comes to their ability to get you verified overnight. Be very, very careful. I've had close friends spend thousands and thousands of dollars with scam artists, with people that are ready to get you verified. And you really should look in the mirror and say, hey, man, am I supposed to be verified today? Because it doesn't matter if you make $1 million a year or not. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the newspaper or you're a pro athlete, you're on TV. Why are you going to be verified? I mean, I would look it up and do the research yourself and just be very careful about who you talk to.
If your social equity is high enough or big enough, then it's of utmost importance to at least investigate getting verified.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would absolutely, learn about it no matter what.
And I'm sure that Cardone has had that issue in the past because, the guy's been a lot of people don't know about Cardone is that, prior to the last 4 or 5 year run up of what he's been doing this for 30 some odd years, mostly in the automotive sector. And I only know that because I first heard his name when I got into the car business. And I'm actually interviewing Jared here on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it's Tuesday.
Oh, awesome.
Talking about their culture and such. But I mean, it's interesting about him that, well, I want to be exactly like him. I'm like, guys, it took him 35 years to get where he is now.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll tell you, he's like, I'm 60. I shouldn't be doing this.
Well,
he said that. Yeah. He says
like patience.
Yeah. And sometimes it happens. A lot of people forget that, Ray Kroc from McDonald's was in his 50s when that all started happening.
Yeah.
The guy who invented Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken, I believe was in his 60s.
We could get into this conversation. Gary Vee is like, hey, listen, if your goal is to be a millionaire by 25 or a millionaire by 30, he's like, you've already lost.
Yeah. You just got to do you.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people want the quick end-all be-all solution to becoming an overnight sensation, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be at that level where they think they want that, and that's why they might just put out a ton of content, even though really their level of being in the marketplace in general could be way down here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's been important to me where I'm looking at the company and I'm looking at my own numbers and I'm saying, hey, numbers, the content and having fun with that. That's all part of the process, but that really does come second to the fact that if I'm on phone calls all day closing deals, I'm not worrying about what the hell I'm putting on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I run a social media marketing company.
You got to mirror that.
So if your goal is to simply put out content all day, that's what you're going to get. But if your goal is, hey, I need to pay the freaking bills this month. I got a car payment. I want to build a life for myself. I want to put my first $10,000 away. You need to realize what action steps are really going to get you those results. For instance, sending a message to a potential client. That is more important to me after I've built a brand where I know that somebody can look at me and decide to trust me or not, which is fine. But I know that once I've built that, I'm going to send the message. And I'll be honest, I wasn't worried whether you sent me a message back or not. I send out those messages all the time. I got a kid the other day who told me to kill myself because I sent him a message. Yeah, he said, if you think I want more followers, go off yourself. I just thought that that's an interesting thing because you have to be totally understanding that people might just, completely try and shit on you.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. But I mean, again, my background and what I honestly didn't even look at your profile. I just took your message for face value and started going back and forth. And sometimes, if the message seems genuine enough to me, I will go back and forth with the person and, hey, do you want to reach out? Is there any way I can help you with something? Is there something, what are we doing here? You were very specific. You said, hey, let's just get on a phone call and get to, I'm always game for phone calls, especially, because if they're trying to heavy sell me something, I'm pretty good at deflecting because I know generally how the game is played, but I mean, and I'll pick up on that within the first 10, 15 seconds of what their intentions are. You came across just like, hey man, so you do this thing. Tell me more about what you do. You had the right intention off the bat. You were asking me about me and essentially getting to know more about me. What are your intentions? What do you want to do? And at the time I'm going, honestly, I'm kind of figuring it out like a lot of people are. Yeah. I just keep telling people that I'm like, I understand you're on Facebook. But you need to start transitioning over to Instagram and start learning how that platform works while it's still viable. And the next thing that's coming up is going to start taking the place of that as the generations get older. And that's something that I really, that's essentially what connected me to you. And that's in a way relationship selling.
I mean, here, just to be real, I want to close the deal, of course. Right? Mm-hmm. But I want to figure out how I can help you. And that is just as important. If I'm lost, then you're not renewing next month, right? You're not going to get on, you're not going to upgrade onto the bigger package. You're not going to do another deal with me. So, it's extremely important that I figure out how can I put myself in your shoes and say, okay,
right.
If I'm you building this brand from scratch today, what are we doing?
Yeah. And it's you're going to get a lot more flies with honey in terms of just being there for what they're needing, and that was car business 101 for me, is finding out what the customer was looking to do. Yeah. Honestly, they'd come in through the door. I would ask them, welcome to Mercedes-Benz of Nashville. How can I help? What kind of car are we looking at today? We're looking at the GLK. Okay. What kind of research have you done already online? Because I know they did. And that got them talking. And, you'd ask all the different questions. And eventually I just got to a rhythm in my career doing that they just like the way my bedside manner. And that's a lot of what you have is it's almost like becoming a sensation or a star. If you have that DNA or that one thing of being a salesperson. And here's another kind of offshoot. I'm going off here. If you watch one of Cardone's things that he did, the whatever it takes.
Quick shout out to Grant for everything that we know. And
I have the don't be a little bitch.
And I've got who's got my money?
Who's got my money? My business partner has that one. He did the show about whatever it takes, and a lot of these people who were self-professed great salespeople were.
Yeah, Cody was on that show.
Right. Not he was. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember him, but I'm sure he was great.
I don't know what season. I think I don't even remember if it was like a second season or something. But he made it to the last 4 people.
Oh, okay. And so he was able to sell him the glass of water.
I guess so. Was that part of the
part of the
process?
thing. They sat down at one point and they're in Cardone's office and they have a glass of water in front of the guy. They bring him in completely cold and they say, "Hey, I'm going to give you an opportunity, 60 seconds to either sell yourself or sell me this glass of water." Inevitably, every person goes, "Well, I'll send myself." He says, "That's terrific. Sell me the glass of water." It was a total trap. Blindside. When I was down there, I wanted to pull him aside and be like, "Hey, man, I'm going to sell you this glass of water," because I've had time to think about it.
Yeah. Are you thirsty?
Are you thirsty? What about the glass? Think about the glass that holds the water. Isn't this just appealing? And use it in my voiceover voice and really make it appealing. Yeah. So I want to actually 2 more questions. What do you marinate your mind in? Being that this podcast is all about marinating your mind in good stuff. Positive thinking forward. What are you listening to and what do you constantly fill your mind with when you're not closing deals like a madman?
Yeah. Well, I think that right now there are so many influencers that you can choose to listen to. So many. You can sit on YouTube. You can download that podcast app that I have. You could listen to endless amount of content from a multitude of people. And I don't encourage that. I encourage you to figure out who you really resonate with the most, that has a serious background in what they do, and just go deep. And so I listen to a lot of Grant. I listen to Gary every so often. So those are my 2 things, right? Of course, when it comes to the sales and the way, and more so than I'm not, here's the thing. It's interesting. A lot of people feel that they're broken and that they need to go to the doctor for help. And when I listen to Grant, I listen to the way that he speaks more than the exact, how to all the time. And that's just really important for me because what makes him so great is he has an incredible personality. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And when people listen to him talk, when he's making a sale or talking about how to make a sale, sometimes what he says does not even make sense, but people love it.
A lot of that comes from him, and he even talks about watching back and listening back to the way he comes off in his pitches from when he was younger, when he was in the car business and when he sold a myriad of other things. He would actually document and record how he came off. And that's one of the things that I'm big on, that as a somewhat of a media coach for people and talking to people about a lot of that harkens back to making yourself better by a lot of people put out podcasts, but they don't even listen to them. They don't watch their own stuff. They think it's, well, I'm being narcissistic and somebody else is making fun of me because no, you're not. If you don't watch your stuff, if you don't constantly improve on your outward persona and who you are, I listen to every one of my podcasts. Eventually, within a couple of days recording, I will listen to this podcast, not only to make myself better, because mind you, I've been doing voiceover over 20 years. I still listen to my voice and the way I say stuff to get better. When I was on the air in Connecticut, we would run a skim tape, and I would barely ever listen to it because I didn't care about getting better. But the greats truly did. Howard Stern listened to his own show. Don Iman, all these guys, these monsters, listen to their own stuff. They watch their own stuff. My buddy Rich Redmond watched how he played the drums and how he sounded to get better. A lot of people don't do that, but Cardone did. He certainly did for a long, long time. And and he's pulling a lot of those different things and notes he's taken to bring that forward. And you're right. When you encountered the guy, especially in a professional environment where we were interviewing him on a podcast, dude made eye contact constantly. He was making eye contact with Rich. He was constantly making eye contact with me. My wife was to the left of me. He was making eye contact with her. I'll be honest. He was a lot different than what I anticipated. He was a lot different. He came off, I've only known him from his public persona. And that's something to even be talked about, because a lot of people who are on the air and who are constantly in the public eye, they're different off the air. Yeah. And he's a little different. in the way he presents himself on Snapchat and Instagram stories, he comes across that way in person. But he had made some funny off-color comments towards the end of our podcast interview, and immediately beeline to my wife and said, "I am so sorry I said that. I didn't mean to offend you." And she looked at him and she's like, "Dude, trust me, man. This ain't the first time I've heard blowjob before." But he was like immediately concerned with what her thoughts were. That says a lot right there. There's a lot of character right there in that moment.
Well, we got to do an interview with him. Cody has I
saw it.
Yeah, I mean, and I sit here, I watch that over and over and over again because there was just something special about that interview, in my opinion. I've watched a ton of his content, of course, and it was just so fluent. I don't even know what the word is, but it was just so relaxed and real. So I think that, times like that and interviews like this, it's really special when you have the right person interviewing.
And it's something I'm working on. I am right now monitoring. I think I say the word basically too much, and I need to write it down and put it on top of my computer monitor. That's little verbal tics like that. The last question I asked you, what are you marinating your mind in? The other one are takeaways. If someone is getting onto Instagram or considering it, what are the top 3 things they should probably be cognizant about as they embark on that journey and start building up their audience?
Yeah, the top 3 things I would say. Number 1 is this is the basic consultation of building a brand. So let's say you have an idea. Maybe you don't, but you're going to figure out what it is that you want to portray. I want you to think about the three keys to a balanced brand. Number 1 is the professional side of your life, sharing what you do. If you want to share your professional side of your life, that means I see Instagram, I see social media as a 21st century business card, right? This is your business card. Companies are actually going to check your Instagram before hiring you. That is a real thing that has been happening for years now, right? So the professional side of things. Number 2 is the personal side of things. People want to know who you are behind the scenes, quote unquote, right? Which is why you see these superstars that do share their life if they choose to. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then number 3 is, just adding a spice to the page, showing people what you like to do, allowing for a possible connection with someone who's following, who maybe is really into voiceover and podcast, or maybe is really into traveling and sales, or maybe, whatever that thing is. But just no matter what, those 3 things, professional, personal, and your own spice, and the word balance is so huge with building a brand. I'm not talking about, balancing your life and all that crap. I'm talking about the balance on your page. No one wants to see the same exact thing twice, 1,000 videos on your page or just 1,000 photos. We want to see a balance of professional, personal, and who and something that you really love to do.
And now are you 25 yet?
I'll be 25 in June.
Good for you. Well, happy early birthday. And let me tell you, let me be one of the, probably not the only person that's ever told you this, but dude, you have to be an old soul. You have a lot of wisdom at your age. Stay humble about it. Always be green to grow rather than ripe to rot. And I will tell you right now, and I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this and watch this can probably attest that, dude, you got a lot going on at your age that I wish I had. Okay. And I think that's very applaudable for you. And I want to thank you for being on almost an hour with me, talking about all the things Instagram. If they want to get in contact with you, I'll put your address up on the screen here as we get it published, but you can find him there, icomeupmarketing.com. And of course, over on Instagram. Between you and Cody, you guys are going to rock the world. And you've also got a special event coming up you want to promote, right?
Yeah, we are confirming the date. I believe it's going to be August 18th. We have some very, very, very special guest speakers that we are in the process of confirming. This is going to be a social media marketing, a training seminar, right? So this is taking this podcast and bringing some of the greatest people in the marketplace right now, along with I Come Up Marketing and our entire team hosting. So we'll be talking about brand development. We'll be talking about, building and scaling up your business through social media. We'll be talking about using it the right way, all of the specifics, and helping you move forward over the algorithms and, what to do, what not to do, all that stuff. So it'll just be one day in Miami. And again, once we have the confirmation on some of these speakers, it's going to be very, very exciting. So, and Jim, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much for having me on here. I'm very grateful to have met you. I should
probably Instagram story it like you did.
Yeah, here. Can I get off of my headphones so I can?
You can.
All right, here,
and I'll do it. Doing the Instagram thing with Mr. Jeremy Bishop. I'll zoom in. Listen to me doing the Instagram thing. Oh my gosh, I'm awful.
Give me the rundown so I can put it on here as well.
I'm basically putting this up right now. Basically, see, I did it again. Talking about in my studio with Jeremy Bishop from I Come Up Marketing. You should listen to the podcast when it's done. So it'll be done here in the next day or two. Awesome. I promise. And I'll tag you in it.
Beautiful.
While we're live on Facebook doing this as it's happening.
Yeah, love it.
But man, thanks for being on. I'm not going to disconnect with you yet, but we're ending the show. Please subscribe, comment, rate the podcast. You can follow it at jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. I am on iTunes. I am on Stitcher for the audio portion of it. And of course on Facebook and YouTube for the video if you care to watch it. And my ugly mug and Jeremy's like rock star model mug. So thank you, Jeremy, for being a part of the podcast. Please, again, subscribe and have a great week. And hopefully we primed you up for the week.